It was a cold, quiet morning. The streets lay empty, only the echo of a distant horn breaking the silence, and under a broken wooden fence, hidden away in the shadows, a faint whimper drifted through the air. A puppy, frail, starving, and too weak to even move, was crying. His ribs pressed sharply against his thin skin, his fur matted with dirt, his breath shallow. It looked as though life itself was slipping away. But fate had other plans. Before we continue this journey, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of courage, love, and survival. And we'd love our story to travel far. Kindly tell us the country or city you are watching from in the comments. Every story feels different when we know where in the world you are listening from. The puppy's cry almost went unheard until a schoolgirl named Emma, on her way to class, stopped in her tracks. She thought she heard something. At first, she brushed it off, maybe just the wind or a cat. But then it came again, faint, desperate, and heartbreaking. She bent down, peering under the broken fence, and what she saw nearly made her cry. A puppy, no older than a few weeks, his eyes half closed, his tiny body trembling. Emma gasped, "Oh my God, he's still alive." Animals cry out in silence. They don't use words, but their eyes, their trembling bodies, they speak volumes. And at that moment, Emma understood one thing: this little creature was begging for one last chance. But here's the thing: most people would have walked away. Most would have thought, it's just a stray, there's nothing I can do. Emma didn't. Something inside her refused to turn away. She reached under, but the puppy was wedged tightly between the boards of the fence and the cold ground. His legs were stiff, and his body barely moved. Emma tried pulling gently, whispering, "It's okay, little one, it's okay." But with every tug, the puppy whimpered in pain. His cries grew softer, weaker. Emma's hands shook. What if she hurt him more? What if she was too late? The clock was ticking. The puppy's life hung by a thread. For a moment, Emma froze. She was just a schoolgirl, no experience, no medical training. Could she even save him? But then she remembered something her grandmother once said: "If a life is in front of you, don't wait for someone else. Be the one." Emma pulled harder. This time the puppy slid out, limp in her hands. His head drooped, his breathing shallow. He was freezing cold to the touch. Emma clutched him against her chest, whispering, "Please don't die, please." With her backpack forgotten on the ground, Emma ran. She didn't care about school. She didn't care about anything else. Her only thought was the nearest place that could help, the small veterinary clinic at the edge of town. Her feet pounded the pavement, her arms tight around the tiny body, as though her warmth alone could keep him alive. The puppy's whimpers grew quieter. His eyes flickered open for just a second and then closed again. Emma's heart raced. Hold on, hold on. Finally, she burst through the clinic doors, tears in her eyes, her voice cracking as she cried out, "Help, please, he's dying." The vet rushed forward, lifting the puppy from her arms and placing him onto a cold metal table. Emma stood frozen, her heart pounding, as the vet pressed his stethoscope to the tiny chest. His expression darkened. Then he looked up at Emma and said 5 chilling words. "This is not just hunger." The room fell silent. The puppy's chest rose and fell unevenly. Dr. Hayes, the town's most experienced veterinarian, leaned closer, listening intently. He adjusted the stethoscope and frowned. His voice was low but firm. "This little one has been poisoned." Emma's breath caught. "Poisoned?" She shook her head. "No, who would do that? He's just a baby." Dr. Hayes quickly moved, preparing injections, setting up IV fluids. The clinic staff rushed in with blankets, warming pads, and oxygen. The sight was overwhelming. Such a tiny life surrounded by machines, wires, and hands trying desperately to save him. Emma clutched her trembling hands together. Her mind raced. Poison, someone tried to kill him, but why? Animals rarely end up poisoned by accident, especially puppies this young. This wasn't random. Someone had either left poisoned food out, or worse, deliberately targeted him. For Emma, the thought was unbearable. He didn't deserve this. He didn't do anything wrong. And yet, here he was, fighting for every breath. The vet administered an antidote, his voice calm but urgent. "We have minutes. If this doesn't work, we'll lose him." Emma stepped closer, whispering to the unconscious puppy. "You're not alone anymore. You hear me? Fight, please fight." Seconds ticked like hours. The monitor beeped. The puppy's breathing faltered, then steadied, only to falter again. Everyone in the room held their breaths. Just when Emma thought it was over, the puppy let out the faintest sound, a weak whimper, so fragile yet so powerful. Dr. Hayes looked up at Emma. "He's not giving up yet. This little one has a will to live." Tears blurred Emma's vision. Her chest tightened. For the first time, she felt hope. But before relief could sink in, something unexpected happened. As the IV dripped steadily, Dr. Hayes pulled back the puppy's fur to check for injuries. His eyes widened. There on the puppy's neck was a deep, raw scar, not fresh, but old. He turned to Emma, his face grave. "Emma, this scar tells me he's been through something far worse than poisoning. Someone didn't just abandon him, they wanted him gone." The room fell silent again. Dr. Hayes gently lifted the puppy's neck fur again, showing Emma the mark. It wasn't a simple scratch. It was a ring-shaped scar, like something had once been tied tightly around his neck. Emma's voice cracked. Did someone try to strangle him?" The vet sighed, his expression heavy. "It looks like he was chained or tied up for a long time. Maybe too tight, maybe intentionally cruel. This pup has known suffering far beyond what most humans could bear." Emma's heart broke into pieces. She had thought she was saving a stray, but now it was clear this wasn't just a dog left on the streets. This was a survivor, a victim of cruelty. For a moment, Emma's young mind wrestled with anger and sadness. Who could hurt something so small, so innocent? And yet, here he was, fighting to live. The puppy stirred weakly. His eyes fluttered open, cloudy and frightened, before slowly settling on Emma. Their eyes met, and in that fragile moment, it was as though he recognized her, the girl who refused to walk away. Emma whispered, "You're safe now, I promise." Dr. Hayes adjusted the IV drip. "We'll need to keep him here for the night. He's not out of danger yet, but if he makes it till morning, he might have a chance." That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She replayed every second in her mind, the puppy's cries, the poison, the scar. Somewhere out there, someone had left him to die. But why here? Why now? And one question wouldn't leave her head. Was this puppy the only one, or were there more out there, suffering in silence? At the clinic, the puppy stirred in his blanket, his breath shallow but steady. One of the staff noticed and quietly recorded a note in his file. "Condition critical, name unknown." But Emma already had a name in mind. "Milo," she whispered, smiling through tears. "Because he deserves a name that means hope." Just as Emma drifted into uneasy sleep, her phone buzzed. It was Dr. Hayes. His voice was urgent. "Emma, I need you back at the clinic. Something strange just happened with Milo's blood work, and I think we may have uncovered something far bigger than just one poisoned puppy." Emma rushed back to the clinic, her heart pounding. The moment she arrived, Dr. Hayes handed her the bloodwork report. "This isn't just poison," he explained, pointing at the charts. "There are traces of a specific toxin we've seen before, and it's not something that happens by accident. It's the same chemical used in illegal dog fighting rings." Emma's eyes widened in shock. "Dog fighting, but he's just a puppy." Dr. Hayes nodded grimly. "Which makes it worse. If Milo came from one of those places, he's lucky to even be alive." Emma's knees felt weak. The idea that Milo's suffering was tied to something so cruel, so organized, was unbearable. Her heart ached not just for Milo, but for the possibility that there were other dogs, hidden away, facing the same fate. Emma whispered, almost to herself, "We can't let this keep happening." Dr. Hayes placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. For now we focus on Milo, but Emma, this is bigger than just one rescue. If what I suspect is true, someone out there is trying to cover their tracks. Poison is often used to dispose of unwanted dogs in these circles. Emma's stomach churned. Dispose, the word echoed like thunder in her mind. But Milo stirred in his blanket, letting out a soft whimper, and Emma's resolve hardened. I won't let them win, she whispered. Emma sat by Milo's side all night. She read to him softly, stroked his tiny paw, and promised him that the world wasn't only filled with cruelty, that love still existed. And though Milo's eyes remained weak, his little tail twitched ever so slightly, a spark of life, a spark of trust. By morning, Milo's condition had stabilized, fragile but hopeful. Dr. Hayes looked cautiously optimistic. He's still in danger, but Emma, he made it through the night. That means he wants to live. Emma smiled through tears, and I'll be right here to make sure he does. But just as a sense of relief began to wash over them, an unexpected knock echoed through the clinic doors. Dr. Hayes opened the door to find a man standing there, his face shadowed by a hood. His tone was cold, almost rehearsed. I heard you've got a puppy here, the man said slowly, a small one found near the fence. Emma's blood ran cold. The man stepped inside, his shoes echoing against the clinic floor. His eyes flicked around the room until they landed on Milo, wrapped in blankets, attached to IVs. Emma instinctively moved closer to the table, her arms protective. Who are you? She asked, her voice trembling. The man smirked faintly. Doesn't matter who I am, that dog doesn't belong to you. Dr. Hayes stepped forward, his expression firm. This is a veterinary clinic. The animal was brought here in critical condition. If you claim ownership, you'll need proof. The man's smile disappeared. His voice grew sharper. Proof, that's my dog, and I want him back now. Emma's heart pounded. Something about his tone, his cold eyes, it sent shivers down her spine. In that moment, Emma realized the truth. This man wasn't here out of love or concern. His presence felt threatening, almost desperate. Her instincts screamed that if Milo left with him, he wouldn't survive. Emma's young voice cracked, but it carried surprising strength. You can't have him, he's not safe with you. The man took a slow step forward, lowering his voice. Listen, little girl, dogs like that, they don't last long. You're wasting your time. Give him back before you regret it. Emma's fists clenched at her sides. Fear shook her, but her courage burned brighter. No, he deserves a chance, and I won't let you take him. The room fell silent. Even Milo whimpered softly, as though sensing the danger. Dr. Hayes subtly reached for his phone, dialing the local authorities under the counter. The man's eyes darted, suspicious, but before he could act, the sound of sirens wailed faintly in the distance. The stranger cursed under his breath, glaring at Emma. This isn't over, you'll regret this. He turned sharply and stormed out of the clinic, slamming the door behind him. Emma collapsed into a chair, shaking. Dr. Hayes placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You did the right thing, but this proves what I feared. Milo isn't just a stray, he's part of something darker. Emma looked at Milo, who stared back with tired but trusting eyes. I won't let anyone hurt you again, ever. Just then, Dr. Hayes' phone buzzed again. It was the police officer he had quietly called. His words were chilling. We've been tracking that man, and if Milo came from where we think, then Emma, you're now part of a case far bigger than you realize. 2 officers arrived at the clinic shortly after. They asked to see Milo, studied the scar on his neck, and took notes from Dr. Hayes. Officer Ramirez, tall and stern, finally spoke. We've been investigating illegal dog fighting in this area for months. That man you saw, he's connected. And if Milo survived, he may be the only living evidence we've got. Emma's chest tightened. Evidence? Milo wasn't just a puppy, he was a key to uncovering cruelty hidden in the shadows. Emma looked at Milo, his tiny body trembling under the blankets. The thought of him being evidence made her uneasy. He wasn't just a case file, he was family now. But she also understood something bigger. Saving Milo might mean saving dozens of other dogs like him. The officer continued. We'll need to keep him safe. That man will likely come back. If Milo falls into the wrong hands, this investigation collapses. Emma's eyes burned with tears. But I can't let him go. He trusts me. He needs me. Dr. Hayes stepped in, calm but firm. Then maybe there's a way to do both, protect Milo and help the police. That night, Emma stayed at the clinic again, refusing to leave Milo's side. The wind howled outside, and every creak of the door made her heart jump. She whispered to Milo, stroking his paw. No one's going to hurt you again, I promise. But even as she said it, she couldn't shake the fear that someone, somewhere, was already plotting to take him back. For the first time since his rescue, Milo's tail wagged faintly against the blanket. Emma gasped softly, her tears turning into a smile. It was the smallest movement, but it was a miracle, a sign that Milo wasn't just surviving, he was beginning to trust life again. Just as Emma closed her eyes, the clinic lights flickered. Dr. Hayes frowned, checking the fuse box. Then came the sound, tires screeching outside, headlights flooded the windows. Emma froze, clutching Milo tight as shadows moved near the door. Dr. Hayes whispered urgently, Emma, someone's here. The clinic door rattled violently. Emma's heart skipped. She clutched Milo closer while Dr. Hayes motioned for her to stay hidden. Glass shattered. A figure slipped inside, fast, silent, and dressed in black. Emma's breath caught. It was the hooded man. The intruder's eyes swept the room before landing on Milo. There you are, he muttered. You shouldn't have survived. Emma felt ice in her veins. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but Milo whimpered softly in her arms, helpless, trusting. She couldn't abandon him, not now. Dr. Hayes stepped forward, blocking the man's path. This is private property. Leave now or the police. But before he could finish, the man pulled something from his pocket. It wasn't a weapon, but a small vial of dark liquid. His smirk was chilling. This is all it takes. One drop, and that mutt's gone. Hand him over, or I'll make sure he suffers worse than before. Emma's chest tightened. She was terrified. But as she looked at Milo, weak, scarred, but still fighting, something inside her snapped. She realized the truth. Milo had already endured enough pain, and if she didn't act now, he would never know what love felt like. Her fear turned into courage. She stood up, holding Milo tight against her chest. Her voice trembled, but her words cut like steel. You'll never hurt him again, not while I'm alive. The man sneered, stepping closer. Brave words, little girl, but you can't protect him forever. Suddenly, flashing lights lit up the room. The sound of police sirens roared outside. Officers stormed in, weapons drawn, shouting commands. The man spun toward the door, but it was too late. He was tackled to the ground. The vial shattered across the floor. Emma gasped, clutching Milo tighter, as the officers wrestled the man into handcuffs. As the officers dragged the hooded man away, Officer Ramirez approached Emma. His voice was low, serious. Emma, you and Milo just became the key to shutting down the entire ring. But there's something you need to see, something we found at the man's hideout. He handed her a torn photograph. Emma's eyes widened in shock. Emma's fingers trembled as she studied the faded picture. At first, it looked like nothing but a group of dogs in a muddy yard, but then her eyes froze. There, chained in the background, was a tiny figure, scarred, weak, barely visible through the blur. It was Milo. Her voice cracked. That's him, that's Milo. Dr. Hayes leaned closer, his face grim. This confirms it. Milo wasn't just dumped. He was part of their operation, maybe one of the few who slipped through the cracks. Officer Ramirez added, and if Milo was photographed there, it means that hideout is real. We can raid it, but we'll need to move fast. Emma's stomach churned. Milo's not the only one, there are others. Emma felt torn in two. On one hand, she wanted to shield Milo from all reminders of his pain. On the other, she couldn't turn her back knowing other dogs were still suffering. Milo stirred weakly in her arms, his soft eyes locking with hers, as if silently asking her not to give up. Emma whispered, "We'll save them too, I promise." Officer Ramirez nodded. "Tomorrow night we move on their compound, but Emma, you should know it will be dangerous. These people won't let go of their operation easily." Emma hesitated, fear flickering in her chest. But then she looked at Milo, the puppy who had fought against death itself just to be here. If he could survive everything, then she could be brave for him. "I'm going," she said firmly. Dr. Hayes frowned with concern, but deep down, he knew there was no stopping her. Emma's bond with Milo was something rare, something unbreakable. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll do this together, for Milo, and for every other dog waiting in the dark." The following night arrived faster than Emma expected. Under the cover of darkness, police cars lined the edge of the forest road. Officers prepared quietly, their flashlights cutting through the night. Emma stood close to Officer Ramirez, clutching Milo's blanket for strength. From a distance, through the trees, faint barking echoed, desperate, frightened. Ramirez whispered, "This is it, their compound is just ahead." Emma's breath caught as the sound of chains rattling pierced the silence. The night was heavy with tension. Officers moved quietly through the forest, their boots crunching against fallen leaves. The barking grew louder, desperate cries cutting through the darkness. Emma's hands trembled as she clutched Milo's blanket. Every bark felt like a cry for help. Officer Ramirez raised his hand. "There, just beyond that clearing." Through the shadows, floodlights illuminated a crude compound, fences, chains, and cages. Dozens of terrified dogs were trapped inside. On Ramirez's signal, the team moved in. Flashlights pierced the dark as officers shouted commands. Chaos erupted. Men bolted from the compound, trying to flee. Others fought back, hurling crates and shouting threats. Emma pressed against Dr. Hayes, her heart hammering. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a battlefield. Inside the compound, Emma saw the reality. Cages stacked against each other, dogs shivering, many scarred and starving. Some were too weak to bark, just staring with hollow eyes. Tears filled her vision. "Oh, Milo, they're just like you." Emma realized Milo's survival wasn't just luck, it was fate. He was meant to be found, meant to lead them here. And now, standing in the middle of suffering, she understood something powerful. One act of kindness had uncovered a chain of cruelty, but it could also spark a chain of hope. As officers cut open cages, dogs stumbled out, some limping, some too weak to stand. One terrified pup collapsed near Emma's feet. Without thinking, she knelt, wrapping the blanket around it. The dog's eyes flickered with the same fear Milo once had, and the same desperate hope. "You're safe now," she whispered. "Just hold on." Hours passed as the police secured the compound and loaded the freed dogs into vans. Each animal carried scars, each one a story of suffering. But for the first time in their lives, they weren't headed toward pain. They were heading toward healing. Dr. Hayes placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. "You've done something remarkable tonight. Milo didn't just survive, he helped save them all." As the last cage was opened, Officer Ramirez called Emma over. His face was pale, his voice tight. "Emma, you need to see this." In the farthest corner of the compound was a small, locked crate. Unlike the others, it wasn't filled with dogs. Inside was a bundle of papers, photographs, and documents, evidence of names, transactions, and something more shocking. On top of the pile was another picture, this time not just of dogs. It was of Emma herself, walking home from school. Emma's fingers shook as she lifted the picture. It wasn't just her, there were others, photos of neighbors, townspeople, even children, each picture marked with strange symbols and dates. Dr. Hayes whispered, "This isn't just about dog fighting, this is bigger. Someone been watching people." Officer Ramirez locked eyes with Emma. They knew who rescued Milo, and they wanted you to know they were watching. Emma's breath hitched. She had thought Milo's rescue was fate, an accident of kindness, but now it felt like something darker. Was Milo abandoned near her home on purpose? Was she meant to find him? Her chest tightened as she clutched Milo closer. The thought that her best friend was bait in a cruel game broke her heart. Weeks passed. Milo recovered fully, his scars fading, his spirit brighter than ever. The rescued dogs found homes, love, and second chances. Emma and Milo became inseparable, walking, playing, sharing every moment. For the world, Milo was a miracle. For Emma, he was proof that love could grow out of pain. Dr. Hayes summed it best. Sometimes the smallest cry for help reveals the loudest truth about humanity. Emma couldn't shake the question, was Milo's rescue pure chance, or was it part of something far more sinister? Either way, Milo had given her life new purpose. She vowed to dedicate her future to rescuing and protecting animals, no matter the danger. Late one evening, Emma walked Milo in the quiet streets. His fur gleamed under the streetlight, his tail wagging happily. But as they turned a corner, Milo suddenly froze. His ears perked, his body stiff. He growled softly, eyes locked on the shadows across the street. There, leaning against a lamppost, was a man Emma had never seen before. He raised a phone, the flash went off, and then he vanished into the night. Emma hugged Milo tightly, her heart pounding. This wasn't over. Backhand index pointing right was Milo's rescue fate, or part of a story far darker than anyone realized. Thank you for watching this journey with us. Milo's story reminds us that kindness can save lives, but also that mysteries often linger. We would love our story to travel far. Kindly tell us the country or city you are watching from in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story of courage and survival.